All right, I see a few others. All right, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so for those of you that haven't had an opportunity to meet me, my name is Dr. Marion Smith Jr., and I have the proud honor and privilege to serve as your new superintendent of schools. And so I'm excited about an opportunity just to engage in a conversation with all of you today, just to learn a little bit about just your experiences last year when we had to shut down as a school district because of COVID-19, and we transitioned to remote learning. And now we're thinking about what is it going to look like for us to return to school in the fall. And so we thought it was critically important for us to hear directly from all of you regarding your experiences, what was positive, what was negative, what are some of the things that we need to be mindful of as we work with all of our community members to envision a plan to return to school that would best serve all of you. You'll hear me refer to students as scholars, and so you'll hear me use that term a lot. And so I'll say, what are we doing that's in the best interest of our scholars? And so we've allocated about 90 minutes or so for us to engage in some back and forth conversation. You'll be hearing from a few other district leadership team members as well, but know that this is an opportunity for you to speak your truth, to share what's top of mind for you so that we can have as much information as possible from all of our scholars to then take back to our team to then figure out how are we going to make the best decision to focus on not only your safety and health, but also ways to continue learning for school year 2021. And so I just want to make sure once again that everyone can still hear me. I'm looking at people that are there. So just a quick thumbs up again, because we've had some technical issues before. And so we're ready to go there. And so if I can have our moderator who is changing our slides, if we can transition to our next slide, please. And so there's quite a few people that you may be familiar with and some that you may not be familiar with, but our goal is to make sure that you recognize that everyone in central office is here to support everything and to make sure that we create an opportunity for you to say that you've had the best experience in Summit schools during your journey. And so you'll be meeting and you'll be hearing from a variety of people just to share some information around how we're thinking about going back to school. What are the ideas? What is the information we're using to inform our decisions? And as I said before, I want to make sure that you understand that we want to hear your voices and perspectives because it's critically important that we make a decision that's best for you. Next slide. And so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to modify a bit the presentation that we had for our staff members. So some of your teachers participated yesterday and a lot of your other staff members that you encounter in your classrooms participated yesterday. But I just wanted to begin with starting here. And so I'll ask you a question, like what story do we really want to create together next year as we think about the school year? So what story do we want to be able to create? And so one of the things that I share with you is that some of you may or may not know based on your history classes that here in Summit County, we are on the land of the Ute Mountain Tribe. And so that's one of 3 federally recognized tribes of the Ute Nation. And so I'm going to return back to that question that I'm going to be asking you throughout our time together is, what story do you really want to tell about next school year? Because we know that the end of last school year may not have been the way that we wanted it to go because of COVID-19 and transitioning into distance learning. So we want to be able to hear from you today as to like, what do you want it to look like? What do you hope it looks like? And how can we do that together to make that happen? Next slide. And so one of the things that we're going to do in our time together is I'm just going to walk you through just a little bit about some of the decisions that we're making and some of the things that we're really thinking about to inform our decisions. But I also think it's critically important that you know a little bit about who I am, because I want to learn to know all of you by name and need. But I think it's important that you know, who is Dr. Smith, this superintendent? If I were to ask some of you, like, what does a superintendent even do? I think some of you may be able to answer that question. But I'm here just to be the lead learner of our school district. I'm here to make sure that you have the best experience in your schools as possible. But in order for me to be able to do that, I have to be able to get a lot of information from you and being able to use that to inform how we move forward. And so I'm just going to start off a little bit today by just telling you a little bit about myself, because when school begins, one of the things that I'm going to be asking of you is to get to know a little bit about you. So I'll be asking you to tell me your story so that I can learn more about who you are as a person, as a student, and hopefully you'll get to learn a little bit more about me and engage in conversations with me directly. And so I like to say that we all have a story to tell. And so for those of you that are accessing it online, you see this slide deck here. And so next slide for me, please. And so we all have that story to tell. So that's a picture of me in kindergarten. And so if you're looking at that picture, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, oh, wow, that's so great. He actually had hair. And so I'm a little bit older now. But I like to say that we all have a story. We all have a dream. We all have a vision for what we really want to do. And it's my goal as your superintendent to be able to make sure that we're creating all of the systems and structures for you to be successful. And as I've said before, the only way that we can do that is by making sure that you actually have the information, or that we have the information to inform those next steps. And so we know that all of you have family members that are supporting you in this work. And so my family, I come from a very different type of mountain community. And so, or a different type of resort community, I should say. And so some of you may be familiar with a place called Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I was born and raised in Las Vegas. And so I like to say there's always, people think that there's not a lot of people who live in Las Vegas outside of the Las Vegas Strip with all of the lights, but I was born and raised there. And so my mom, her name is Marion Smith, and she was born in Louisiana. And she only ended school in the 8th grade. And so her schooling ended in 8th grade. She didn't go on to high school. And then for 30 years of her life, she worked as a hotel and casino maid before she retired. My dad is someone that I'm named after. And so Marion Smith Jr., he did graduate from high school, but then he went directly into the military and he served in the Army. And for then 35 years after that, he served as a chef. And so before his retirement. So I like to say that I learned a lot about cooking from him. But my family grew up, for those of you in your history classes, if you know about the Jim Crow South, they grew up in a time where not everyone was afforded the same types of opportunities. And so they were not afforded opportunities to go to particular types of schools, to have resources, and to have access to a lot of different things. And so learning from their experiences is what allowed for me to be so passionate about education, and why I'm so excited about being your new superintendent, so that we can really focus on together listening to you and understanding what is it that you feel that you need in order to make your experience in schools the best experience possible. Next slide. And so, as I said, started my career as a secondary English teacher. So if I were to ask some of you, just by a show of hands, how many of you say your favorite subject is English? Might not be a lot of people. Sometimes English is not everyone's favorite subject, but I taught secondary English at the middle school and high school level, and then transitioned into school administration. Next slide for me, please. And we can go on to the next slide. One of the things that I wanted to share with all of our scholars here is we know that we are a mountain resort community that serves a very diverse population. So there are a lot of people that come to us from all over the world. And so there was a time in my life that I had an opportunity to live in Brazil. And I had an opportunity to look at different types of schooling systems there. Some of us may be familiar with Rio and the favelas, where people are impoverished and poor, and but they're still focusing on education. And so I had an opportunity to look at how people did education very differently and to learn a lot about being very different than everyone else, being in a different country, not speaking the language, learning how to navigate. And so I bring a lot of that to the work that we're going to be doing together, is always being someone who's going to listen to you, someone who's going to be concerned about your experiences, and someone who's committed to doing what's going to be best for you. And so while I was in Brazil, I taught myself another language. So for those of you that went through our dual language program, you know how sometimes challenging that may be. And so if anyone out there does speak Portuguese, eu falo pouco de português do Brasil. I still speak a little bit of Portuguese, but I also speak a little bit of Spanish. And so I'll be working with some of our scholars to help me learn more Spanish as well as I work with you. Next slide. And then over the last 20 years, I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of different scholars across the country, whether that was Nevada, whether that was Pennsylvania, whether that was Washington State, and now here in Colorado. And so I'm excited about being able to learn from all of you, to listen to all of you, and then being able to use that information to then decide how we're going to create a vision for our school year, next school year. Next slide, please. And so a few of the things that we can focus on and that I want you to know is that you will always have a superintendent that's going to do these things. And so I'm going to champion for equity. I'm going to create scholar voice. And so one of the things that you'll know is that there's going to be an opportunity for students and scholars to be an advisor to the superintendent. And so we'll have different meetings where I'll be calling on different high school and middle school scholars to be able to meet with me to tell me what's actually happening in our schools, like what works, what doesn't work. So know that I want to hear directly from you. And so one of the things here is like, I see our notes there. This is boring, bummer. I'm sorry that it's boring, but I'm trying to be able to share with you exactly a little bit about who I am. And so one of the things that you're also going to see is that I'm going to model the way for all of you. I'm going to be the person that's going to be your biggest advocate and your biggest champion. And so I want you to know that when we begin the school year, it's going to be tough because it's not going to look like the school year that we had before. And so what I'm going to be asking all of you to do is to be open, to be flexible, to be ready to engage in providing us, meaning myself, your teachers, your principal, your assistant principal, your family members, sharing what you're actually going through so that we know, and then we can create the possibilities or we can create the systems to help you out. And so I want you to know that I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn from all of you, and I'm excited about what that's going to look like as we move forward. And so I know that we lost our PowerPoint slide deck there, but I'll turn it over to another member of my team as we focus on just engaging in some conversations. Because I know that we had some questions that we wanted to pose, and so I'll turn it over to our team there.
I think Dr. Smith, we're ready for Amy Wineland from Public Health. So Amy, we'll look at unmuting you and allow you to talk. Amy, are you there? Okay, we'll find Amy. Mr. Adkins, would you like to, oh, there's Amy. I see her shoes under a different name. There you go. Amy, can you?
Yeah,
I was
thank
looking
you.
for your name.
I'm trying to rename myself, but unfortunately, it's not letting me do that today. But hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your summer. It's good to see you all. I'm the Director of Public Health, and working with your school staff on how we're going to come back to school so you guys can be in the classroom some. I think it's really important for you guys to understand that the hope is to get you back in as much as we can. That's going to make it safe for you and make sure that we're not getting people sick as much as possible. Are some of you wearing your masks today, this summer, I hope? Because that's something that's going to continue when you guys get back to school. It's a really important way to help prevent the spread of illness, and something that we're going to continue to do for a while to come until we might have a vaccine or better treatment for COVID. I'm happy to answer questions you might have about the disease, but wanted to tell you a story about something that happened in the state of Missouri, actually. And this was a pretty cool story that happened, that there were two hairstylists that were doing hair. You know, you guys go to the hairstylist to get your hair cut. And this was happening in Missouri. There were two people that were working that actually were sick with COVID. And they saw about 139 clients while they were working while sick, but they wore their masks, which was required for them to do so in this state. The other thing that happened was all the people that went in to get their hair cut, they were also wearing masks. And what they found was that none of the people that came in to get their hair cut also got sick, because everybody was wearing their masks. And so it's really important to understand that that's going to be really vital for us when we go back, when you guys go back to school. The other thing that's really important to understand is you might be seeing some news right now where there's places, other states, especially California, Texas, Florida, where cases of COVID are going up. And there are some counties in our own state in Colorado where some cases are going up as well. And right now and last week, the governor actually said that everyone in the state needs to be wearing their face masks while they're out and about, because we know that that is really helpful in preventing the spread of this disease. And it's really helped us here in Summit County, because the good news is here in Summit County, we aren't having a high number of cases within our community. And so that's going to really help us move forward with these plans and getting people back into school. And it's just really important for you to understand that there are other pieces that help make and create a safe environment for you and your teachers when you get back, including masks. You know, keeping that physical distancing happening is really important. 6 feet is the ideal. And then there are lots of other layers that the school's working on trying to put in place to make sure that it's safe, but that you can get back into school, because we know that's really important. You miss seeing each other, and your teachers miss seeing you as well. And we want to make sure that you continue to have that opportunity to be in the classroom. So we're working hard on that plan, and I'm happy to answer questions when or if you have them. That's all for me, Mary Kate.
Thanks, Amy. I'm jumping in. We've had some technical difficulties, and Mickey, our moderator, I think just got reconnected. So we are going to move on to Mr. Adkins, who works at the central office and works with transportation and food service and all of our buildings. So Mr. Adkins, are you there?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mary Kay. Thanks, Dr. Smith. Thanks, Amy Wineland. It's been a great introduction. It's good to see so many of you. I know that out there we got some Breck Bulldogs. Any thumbs up on some Breck Bulldogs? I see a bulldog on the screen. Mary Kay, that technically might be a Breckenridge Bulldog.
That he is a Breckenridge Bulldog. He goes and does the Halloween parade every year, so he is an honorary Breckenridge Bulldog, Mr. Adkins.
Right. And I know we have Upper Blue Hawks out there. Probably some Silverthorne Bears. There's some Summit Cove Coyotes, I bet. And even if you're a high schooler, we talk about that because that's your legacy. That's you'll always be a Summit Cove Coyote. We've got some Frisco Panthers and of course Summit Tigers. So welcome today. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you guys are enjoying a nice lunch over this, and won't bore you too much. But I've probably met some of you, and certainly for the high schoolers on there as your former principal, and maybe for your older brothers and sisters, maybe you've been at a graduation or something and I've met you there. But I'll see you around. Anyway, I'm here to talk about operations, and in everyday language, what operations means is how things work. So what it looks like and what it feels like to be back. So I know you guys are in summer mode, and gosh, thinking about school, thinking about friends and things like that, sports, those are all great. And obviously engaging with your teachers and seeing everybody. But I want to let you know that, as Miss Wineland said, some of the things that we're going to talk about are, when you're back to school, are wearing your mask. So you got to mask up. Put a little S there for Summit Tigers, SHS, huh? And we're going to ask you to mask up while you're in schools. And as Ms. Wineland said, in the community too. 6 feet, you're going to see lots of signs around the school when you come back. 6 feet, and you've seen them in the community. So trying to stay 6 feet away from somebody else when you return and distance is always good with masks. And we work a lot together, Ms. Wineland and myself and some of the public health team, and we talk about how we can continue to keep our community safe and our schools safe, and we can keep things running if we do some of the simple things I know you just heard. You're going to see lots of signs. When you go back, you're going to go, there was never a sign here in the bathroom about hand washing and saying my ABCs while I wash my hands. I started to do that too at home. I say ABC. When I get to Z, then I'm good, because counting to 20 sometimes doesn't work. And you'll see that sometimes in your classes, your teachers are going to come to you. So instead of maybe you going to another class, so that'll look a little bit different. You guys might go to recess just together at the elementary level. At the high school level, for all you big kids online, it might look different. Maybe the number of classes that you take. You might take a few less, but in an intense period of time. Anyway, school's going to look a little different, but we're going to expect a lot from you guys to keep us safe, because health and safety is number one. And we'll talk about, gosh, you guys are flexible anyway. You're flexible, you're nimble. I've seen you guys out on the recess playgrounds, or certainly in playing your sports at high school and middle school. But we're going to talk about flexible in a different way. And that's going to mean that we're going to go between, you might look even week to week, depending on how many people are sick in our community. We might be online like we were last spring. We might be going to half time, like maybe a couple days a week to school, and then doing online the other half. And then we might be full back in sometimes. And we have to be ready for all three of what school could look like throughout the school year, because it's going to change. It's going to look different for your cousins and around the country, in different states. And it's even going to look different maybe in different school districts in Colorado a little bit, based on what the health of their community looks like. But you guys can help us with that. The other things that we'll talk about is, gosh, on the bus, for those of you that are riding the bus, it might look different, where you're one to a seat, you have your windows down, you're again wearing your masks. And then it might look different even before you get to school, because it might look like you go on and with you, if you're a younger kid going to one of those awesome elementaries where you're taking an online thing of, yep, I feel good today and I don't have a fever and I'm good to go and I'm ready to learn. And then it might look like, obviously, for a high schooler, whether you're doing that via QR code on the bus, or also you guys are like, what's a QR code? It's one of those things that you scan and then take your own screening tool stating that you're ready to go. You might see some people at the doors. You might go in through a different door than you ever did before, because we want to put you in smaller groups. So you're not, if somebody were to be sick or whatever, they didn't come in contact with a lot of people and then shut the whole school down. So it might look a little different. We might be scanning temperatures at different times of the day. And that all looks really different too. But that doesn't mean that school can't be a lot of fun and that we can't learn a lot and that we're not excited to have you back, because we are. And I know all your teachers would echo that too. But anyway, I'm enjoying seeing your faces and some of your cool icons, but I will stop there and not go into some of the nitty gritty details with you guys. But that's a little bit of what it could look like when you're coming back, but more to come. Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Thanks, Mr. Adkins. We appreciate giving everyone a little update about what school could look like. My name is Mary Kay Duray, and I have worked at, let me count all the schools. I've worked at Breck, I've worked at Upper Blue, I've worked at the middle school, I've worked at the high school, and I've worked at Frisco. And now I work at the central office, which is across from the middle school, and work in teaching and learning. So I work with all your principals, with a lot of your teachers about just what happens in class and what you guys do. So what we've been doing since school was out, probably, I think we started in May. We had lots of different groups of teachers to talk about what things could look like this year. You know, if we're online or if we're in person, and just all the different possibilities. So we've had a couple of your principals working really hard to see what school could look like in the fall. And I'm hoping that we have Mrs. Sutherland from Upper Blue, that she's on and unmuted, and Mr. Guevara from the middle school, and then also Mr. Ritter from the high school. So we'll start with Mrs. Sutherland. If Mrs. Sutherland, you could start and share a little of the work you've been doing with the other elementary principals.
Okay, so hi everyone, I am Mrs. Sutherland. I am the principal at Upper Blue. I am here representing all the elementary principals, so all of your principals have been part of this process, not just me. We've actually all been working together, and we just want to say we love and we miss all of you, and we are so excited to welcome you back soon, however that's going to look. Know that your teachers and your principals are working hard to make sure that we're going to all be learning and growing and interacting together just safely. And to also know that all elementaries are going to have a similar plan. So no matter what school, whether you go to Breck L, Upper Blue, Frisco, Silverthorne, Dillon Valley, or Summit Cove, our plans are going to look pretty similar, and they're going to go really well, and we're going to do the best we can. One thing I do want to put out there, which I know is really important at elementary school to know about, is recess. That recess, it's going to look a little different, but it's still going to be happening. And with some of the guidelines out there, we will be wearing masks in school, but know that when we go outside, we'll have a chance to breathe a little bit without them some as we're out and about. But to also know that we are hoping that we're together, but whatever we do, we know that we're gonna get to see you all soon, and we're really excited about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to the middle school.
Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Guevara. I'm the middle school principal. It's really, really cool to see everybody. And look at this, is my daughter right here. This is Imogene. She's with me on this call. Well, I see so many faces that I recognize and some new sixth graders that we can't wait to welcome to the middle school. We really miss you. All of the teachers, all of the people at Summit Middle School, we miss you, and we can't wait to have you come back. We're working really hard to make sure that we can open school safely. That's the number one thing. I know that you know that we want to come back. We want to get the school going and have it be normal, but it needs to be safe. And so that's why there's all of this indecision going on right now, because we're just waiting to make sure we can create a safe space for you to come back to. Mr. Shabbat's on this call too. He's pumped up to have everybody in the school, and you can hear Miss Imogene. She wants school to happen too. But we've got a lot of teachers. There's actually 14 teachers at Summit Middle School that are working together to make sure that we create a really incredible schedule and work with whatever parameters we need to work within to make sure that school is safe and make sure that we can come back and have a good time together and get learning. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you 7th and 8th graders, and I cannot wait to welcome all of the new 6th graders into the building. I'm really looking forward to that. So keep enjoying summer, and we will see you soon. And I'm going to pass it to Mr. Ritter.
Hello, everybody. Hello, incoming 9th graders who are on this call. Excited to have you guys a part of our school. All 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. who are on this call, we're excited to have you back. I want you to know that my highest priority is making sure that you guys are safe and comfortable within our school environment, and ultimately that you're better because of the experience that you've had within our school environment. We're looking forward to you guys really learning and us using all the new tools that we learned from last quarter, and then also making the best school possible for all of you. I want to know this is of highest priority for me, because I have kiddos within the system myself, and one of them's on the call, and so we want to do what's best for every single one of you. And Henrietta is going into 6th grade, and then I have a little buddy named Elijah, and he's going to be in 3rd grade at Dillon Valley Elementary, which I believe they are the Dragons. So I want you to know that my priority of making this a great school year not only comes to you as a principal, but also as a parent. So our work started right around the end of the school year. We brought together, much like Mr. Guevara said, brought together a bunch of staff members to start working on, hey, what is going to be the best way for us to do school in order to make sure that we're doing what's best for our family and our community. We also brought together a bunch of students, parents, and community members in order to do some work for us also. So I want to publicly thank Colin, Michaela, Nubia, Sophia, and Tucker, all for all the hard work that you've done so far. And we're going to come back together and finalize our plan next week, and we're excited to be able to do that work and be able to provide the best school possible for you. Many of you on this call might wonder or be concerned about sports and activities coming up here this fall and rolling into the winter or spring. What CHASA has done is kind of worked to create their own committees in the entire state, and that committee has put forward a plan to the governor and his office. So even CHASA, who controls our athletics and activities, has to put a plan together and get their plan approved by the governor's office and state office. And so they're awaiting kind of some of the final determinations from those groups or from that group in order to be able to even project what's going on from this point forward. What they have done so far is broken into lower risk, moderate risk, and higher risk sports. And that's kind of how they prioritize, just so everyone knows. The lower risk sports are going to be boys and girls golf, boys and girls tennis, boys and girls swimming, sideline cheer, and unified bowling and skiing. The moderate risk sports are cross country, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls lacrosse, softball, baseball, volleyball, track and field, gymnastics, and field hockey. And then the higher risk sports are considered football, boys and girls basketball, ice hockey, wrestling, and competitive cheer and dance. So the reason why I told you all those lower risk, moderate risk, and higher risk is that you probably will hear some language around those three things as we're moving forward, and whether or not they're pushing sports and all that kind of stuff. So one big thing, just to kind of tell you how other states have been doing sports, there's essentially been kind of four decisions that have been made. The first one is what our state has gotten to at this point, which is no decision yet. They're still finalizing a decision. Some states have decided to push whatever their fall athletics are to the spring. Some states have decided to delay by a few weeks. They want to let schools get started, and then fall athletics will kick in activities. And then the final ones have said that it's essentially kind of like the first one, where they've made determinations that their final decision is to be determined, but they're en route. So all of those are where states are at overall. And when it comes to our athletics and activities, those governing bodies, those groups of people are the ones we have to wait on. So we're excited to have everyone back. We want to make sure all parts of our organization and all parts of our state want to make sure that we're providing plans that are safe and doing what is best for our students. And ultimately, what we want to do is make sure that we're providing the best instruction, the best environment, the best opportunities for all of our students so that you guys are better because of the experience that you have with our schools. So incoming freshmen, I'm excited to get to meet you and get to know you. 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, I'm excited to have you guys continue to do the work and continue to improve within our school and because of our school and because of each other. We're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of energy this year making sure we're getting feedback from our students to make sure our students are engaged in our school community. And really, by working through student groups like Student Senate, Student Leadership, et cetera, and then making sure that we're getting student feedback on their experience, whether that's a social emotional experience, academic experience, activity or athletic experience, making sure that we're capitalizing on the student voice within our school in order to make sure that we're continuing to work to create the best environment for you within our school. So sorry I took so long there, but I wanted to make sure I took that time, mostly because I'm excited to have all of you in our school, excited to make sure that we provide the best environment for you, but make sure that you're better by the end of the 2021 school year because of your experience at Summit High School. Thank you.
All right. I think, all right. All right, I don't have my video up, and I think we've got Dr. Smith, and I wanted to ask you guys some questions on behalf of all of your teachers and your principals. We know that you guys spent time this spring doing school through the computer. Dr. Smith, we wanted to ask some of our scholars out there today of what went well when you guys did online learning this spring. So if you guys could use the chat to just put your thoughts in there of what were some things that you thought went well during online learning and what were things that you liked, and then we're going to ask you the next question after we get some time to put that in the chat, and we'll ask you some other feedback about what you'd like to see different. Mickey, can you tell if we've got answers going in the chat? If you can let me know when those slow down.
And this is Dr. Smith. And so as you are providing that feedback, and we appreciate that, one of the things that we want to let all of you know is that as a district, we are planning and we're prepared to implement all three of the learning models. And so some of you may be familiar with the all online. So if you think back to the spring when we had to shut down schools because of COVID-19, we went to distance learning. That's one option. A second option is a blended model, which means that we would go to school for a few days each week, and then the other days we would be online. And then there is our traditional model where we're familiar with going to school in person 5 days a week. And so based on what we're learning from public health and based on the realities of what could happen this upcoming school year, all of us are working to make sure that we're able to go in between all of those different learning types over the course of the year. And with this first question, we're just looking to see like what worked really well for you in the spring when we had to transition to all online learning, and being able to hear your thoughts and ideas.
Just as important as Dr. Smith said, we want to hear what went well. We also want to hear what didn't go so well. What made online learning hard? So if you could give us some of your thoughts in the chat about what was hard with online learning. Give us some of your thoughts and your feedback, because we're going to use that as we try to move forward in case we have to go to online learning this year, so that we make sure we hear the things that were challenging for you as scholars, make sure that we try to address those and try to get over those humps and bumps and make things as good as we can for our scholars as we move forward.
And as all of you are sharing that information, I'll be sharing some feedback that I'm getting directly communicated to me. So thank you to everyone that's choosing to share their information with me directly. One of the things that I said at the very start of our town hall today is it is so important that we hear from all of you directly, because we know that the reason that we have our schools is to focus on learning and teaching, and it's to focus on learning and teaching of all of you. And so the more specific you can be around, wow, Dr. Smith, this was really great. This was amazing. I think that we should continue this. Wow, Dr. Smith, like this was so bad. I think we should stop this, and here is why. Or have you thought about this? And so all of your insights are really important, because we're going to be taking all of that information and combining that with our public health information and combining that with all of the great work of your principals and teachers to put together a possible return to learn plan that takes into consideration everything that you're sharing with us. And so don't be afraid to share positives, things that didn't work, things that we should consider, because we really want to hear your perspectives. And so, Mickey, did you want to pause right here and then focus on just a readout of some of the feedback that we received from our scholars just around what worked really well? Because I think you have some information, and then I have some private messages here that I'll be able to read out on behalf of our scholars around what either worked really well or some things that we need to be mindful of.
Yes, I'm happy to share that information. All right, so for things that went well, some of our scholars said students could work at their own pace, and the individually paced education worked well at the secondary level specifically. Students liked the flexible hours. Students have also said they were able to improve their grades with the online learning, and so that went well for them. One of the students said it was nice to spend more time with their family throughout the day, as everyone was learning at home together. The shift to learning at home was different and had to get used to it. Most students did say that they did their best at trying to complete the assignments while at home, but sometimes there were distractions, I'm assuming from your siblings or younger brothers and sisters. Some other students said that it was also nice to sleep in and be at home during the school day.
All right, then I'll add some of the comments that were sent to me directly. One of our scholars said, what I liked about online learning was that all assignments were posted at the beginning of the week and could be done at one's own pace. Another of our scholars says, I like that I did not get as much work and that I could do this on my own schedule. Another perspective from our scholars is, I was supposed to, okay, I think that might be a little bit more, but I'll just read it anyway because it's communication. This person says that I was supposed to be on the committee that was interviewing you. So this is personally to me, so I'm gonna make it public for everyone, and other superintendent candidates. However, due to multiple factors, I was unable to attend those interviews. I'm pleased with who they hired and admire how you handled the disrespectful moments from other people on this meeting earlier. Some things that went well during online learning were self-pacing and also having different options for certain assignments. Another response from one of our scholars is what didn't go well was the abundance of assignments at first, basically getting assignments for one class every day. If we had science Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we get homework for it every day, which became stressful. Another comment, teachers gave work that lasted hours. Some videos that were, some videos that were more than an hour long. Another comment, communication with teachers and getting everything done in time. Another person says, I was constantly distracted. Another piece of comment or feedback from our scholars is we still learned not seeing people and it was hard to focus. Another piece of feedback from our scholars is inconsistent communication from teachers and school officials. Inadequate communication on mental health services was also an issue. Another scholar echoed about being distracted. Another person or another scholar said, we still learned, but it was very difficult. Another comment was no reach class, which I need for the seal of biliteracy on my diploma. I'm also going for IBDP, so my schedule is very full. One of the challenges that one of our scholars said it was not being able to see people. And the last one that I have right now is some things that were hard was self-pacing, as some people fell far behind. It was also hard when some teachers would assign a ton of work while others barely assigned any. If we are able to continue online learning, we need to have a similar workload from all teachers. And I'm going to continue to add some more, but if we wanted to post some more questions, I'll be able to gather the remainder of these. So thank you all for your feedback. I want you to know that this is not information just for information's sake. This is information for us to use as a team to really hear your voices, to hear your perspectives, and to take that into consideration in your planning. At the very beginning, I shared with all of you, I am here because I'm a superintendent for all of the scholars. That's why I'm here. And so help me do my job better by giving me the information that I need from your perspective so that I can make sure that we're creating the system that really serves all of you. So I really appreciate all of you being very honest and transparent in what it looks like for you in the spring. I'll turn it back over to you, Mickey.
Thanks, Mickey. I couldn't get myself unmuted. I think the last question that we have of all of our scholars is just what's one hope that you have for this upcoming school year? Your principals come back to work next Monday. Your teachers are a couple weeks after that. So we just really want to hear from you guys of what's one hope that you'd like to share with us for this 2021 school year. And if you guys could put that in the chat, Mickey will watch it, and Dr. Smith will probably read out a couple and give folks time to put that one hope for next school year. What are you hoping for?
And as you're all capturing down, what is that hope? What is that wish? What is that idea that if we really did this for the upcoming school year, it would really serve you well? I'm still looking at some of the other comments that have been sent to me directly. And if I could just take some time, I think it's critically important because I didn't frame just some of the things that we're thinking about in all of our planning, and it may address some of the questions or comments that I've been getting on my own. And so as you're writing down about your hopes, I want you to know that as a full team, everyone in the school district is focusing on a return to learn plan that focuses on 10 key areas. And so these are the 10 things that we've been thinking about and planning about and talking about and questioning and reading hundreds of reports, following public health, looking at what other school districts are doing, and then also grounding it in every discussion that we're having, every decision that we're making is based on you. And so I want you to hear that again. Every discussion that we're having, every decision that we're making is what is going to be in the best interest to maintain the safety and health of all of you as we think about going back to school. And so the 10 areas that we really talked about were like, we're focusing on a lot of different reopening scenarios that really ensure the health, the safety, and the well-being of all of our scholars and staff. Another area that I wanted to call out that was in one of the comments was addressing the immediate and long-term physical, psychological, social, and emotional needs. And so we understand that without question, when we went to online learning, we understand that that's trauma that induced trauma. We were all experiencing trauma in many different ways, and we've all been impacted by this pandemic in many different ways. And so the plans that we're creating are with that in mind. How are we going to make sure that all of our schools are trauma informed and trauma skilled? And so when we think about trauma, that's physical, psychological, mental, relational, so that when you're back in our schools or back in the schools, that it's a safe space for individuals and groups of people to really express their concerns, to express their anxieties, and to even express their fears. And so we want you to know that that's top of mind for us. And we're also focusing on how can we really rethink what we can do in education. And so it doesn't have to look like it did before the pandemic, because it may not have served all of our scholars 100%. And so we're thinking about how can we make sure that we serve all 3,600 of you really well. And that's going to require us to be very innovative, require us to be very flexible, And it's going to require us to really take all of your ideas into consideration. And so just wanted to share a little bit of that, because some of the comments that were sent to me directly were around some of the ideas that I think I wanted to share as to how we're planning and thinking about this work. So turning it back over to you, Nikki.
So for what is one hope for the 2021 school year, students had said activities and sports, going back to school, seeing our friends. Many of you had said, I hope it's a normal school year. One student said he hopes he doesn't have plexiglass around his desk and that he can spend time with his friends. And then some students asked about how long during the day will they have to wear masks, and they hope they don't have to wear it all day.
And so I can add just a few just on my end as well, is we want a normal year. And so that echoes what you shared, Mickey. We want to have our high school experience. I want to see my friends. Taking a look at some others. Another scholar says, I hope that I can see my friends in person. I hope that most of the teachers put some more effort into showing up to their Zoom meetings. And so thank you for that feedback. We want to be in class with no masks. What I hope we have is still locker buddies. I hope that I can go to school the same days as my sister. I hope that we can physically go back to school so my senior year transcript isn't horrible compared to the rest of my high school career. I hope that we can do a mixture of online and at school. See any others here? I hope that I can have face-to-face classes for electives, French, PE, violin, etc. One of the hopes is that I can see my friends and not being stuck at home. Oh, and one more thing, live classes, either joining virtually or recorded. I hope we will continue to have access to good electives, music, and art, because these keep me developing my creativity. And last one I'll share here is I'm hoping that we go back completely to school, because I have several IB and AP classes that I'm taking, which I need to do well in so that I can go to a prestigious university. And so I'm worried that if we do not go back to school full time, I will not be prepared for our IB and AP exams during the spring. And so tons of feedback, and we're going to be compiling all of this information. And I want to thank you all just for taking time out of your day just to meet this strange new guy who's going to be leading us through a very challenging time. But I do believe that if we work together and we partner together, and if we remain open to all of the possibilities, that we will have an amazing year together. It may not always be easy for us, but I know that together we'll be able to make it through. So thank you so much for just sharing all of this information with us.